This is a little project I promised myself I'd do. It's an electrical influence machine, otherwise known as a Whimshurst machine. I built one of these many years ago out of some bits of scrap wood and some glass plates, and it worked very well. It produced a 2-inch spark, and I thought, well, I might make another one sometime, but it's been quite a few years now. But anyway, I've made a start. I've got the discs made. These are Perspex discs, there's 2 of them. I've just forgotten the exact diameter. There's aluminium foil sectors have been stuck on. There they are, and these run together as close as possible when the machine is built. These are the most important parts of the machine. The problem was when I obtained the Perspex, which is in a big square sheet, I needed to get them round, obviously. So what I did, I marked them out with a scriber. The 380mm in diameter. The problem was machining them. What I did, I roughly pansawed the diameter out to the marked line, and then I mounted it in my milling machine. And I had the cutter in the vertical head, such as like this. The plate was clamped down between some cardboard washers, just tight enough to be able to turn it. And as the machine, as the cutter rotated, I just turned as it rotated, I turned the piece of Perspex by hand. It was just tight enough to stop it being grabbed, and the cutter rotates in the opposite way, so there were no chance of it pulling it. But even so, you have to be very careful, because if the cutter did grab, it'd be like an helicopter. It'd spin like mad and probably damage everything. But it turned out okay. Both discs worked out very well. If you've got a big lathe, well, you could machine them in a lathe in a big chuck, but it's highly unlikely anybody's got a lathe that's going to hold all these diameters.
To make for this Whimshurst machine was at the baseboard. I had a piece of old pine and I thought I'd just modify it to make it more presentable and look a bit more like an old vintage type machine. I didn't have any cutters, I don't have a router or anything like that, so I made up a tool in my workshop, and I machined the form around the baseboard on my milling machine. It was a bit rough really, but when I finished it, it wasn't too bad. And after a little bit of sanding, it's quite presentable. It still needs quite a bit of finishing, but I think it'll be okay, especially once it's I think once it's stained and then varnished. I think it should be okay. I'm by no means a woodworker. I don't work in wood. It's very rare, so it's a bit trial and error for me machining wood. Well, it's left a reasonable form all around the baseboard. A bit more fettling and finishing, and a little bit of filling. It should be okay, hopefully. This is one of the standards which the Whimshurst machine discs are mounted on. And here we see some rough cut pieces of wood which I'm going to glue together, and from these I shall make the upper drive pulley for the Whimshurst machine, and it's to these that the discs will be fixed with screws. Before I glued these, I drilled a hole through each one in the centre of each piece of wood to ensure that they're reasonably lined up, and it made it easier to machine them in the lathe. Here they are, fully glued together now with the small rod which kept them in line. And next it's just a matter of getting them in the lathe and machining them. I've never done much machining in my lathe because I'm never keen to have wood turnings on the lathe.
Is all about underpinning education. It's about looking at ethical values, starting the debate about what happens when you have a hatch and you know that half.
To make less mess on the lathe, I thought I'd try rigging up my vacuum cleaner and see if it'll take most of the wood turnings away, and it worked fine.
The pulleys are now finished. The main drive pulleys, they've been V'd out to take the drive belt. They've been bushed with a brass bush, and these bushes will ride on the shaft, plain mild steel shaft, which will go through the lower part of the standards. These have got to be bushed with small brass bushes, just like I've done on the upper part, and these will act as bearings.
This is a PTFE thrust washer, which I've made up from some stock I have. This goes between the two plates on the Whimshurst machine and acts as a spacer and also as a bearing. You need to get the plates as close as possible. This is a nylon thrust washer which I've made for the upper pulley, which the discs are attached. This will enable the end of the top pulley to bear against this pad and help to take up a little bit of the end thrust.
And the pulleys are also finished, and these have been grooved exactly the same way to take the drive belt. This boss is attached to both discs in exactly the same way, and these have been recessed so that the screw heads lie below the disc, and a small blob of shellac will go over these to insulate them. Shellac is really a good insulating agent. So that's both discs now done.
These are the brass angles with the brass screws for the supports of the discs. I'm using brass throughout this construction, as I'm trying to keep it in like vintage style, something like from the early 1900s. It looked fine when it's all polished up. Here we see the brass angle supports fitted on one side. There's some more now to fit on the inside to provide sturdy fixing to these supports for the discs.
Here we are with the construction of the Whimhurst machine. The supports are made, the pulleys are made, and now I'm on with the brasswork. This will take a little of my time, but yeah, it's looking okay at the moment. With the Whimshurst machine, one disc revolves opposite the other. The belts for driving this have to be obtained, and I shall use an O-ring kit, and use that as the as the belts.
The inner brass angles are yet to be fitted to the inside of the supports.
Here is some of the brasswork which I'm on with at the moment. There's various bits and pieces. These will be the pickups that fit at the side of the Whimshurst machine. These will actually fit on stands at the side of the machine on centre height with a column insulated, and the combs which will pick up the electricity.
This rod is part of the assembly which have the collecting combs on. These fit between the discs. They're already marked out now and centre popped, and I'm just about to drill them for the collecting combs. These fit on either side. These are some more finished components. The bits of tube, these will form part of the base on the collecting combs, and they'll fit on top of the columns which fit to the baseboard. These short columns will be soldered to the horizontal bars which hold the collecting comb rods. Here we see the collector with a brass ball on the end, just temporarily assembled. The whole lot will be soldered together except the brass ball, which needs to rotate on the boss.
This is a piece of the perspex rod cut to length. It's high quality stuff, is this, and I'm using this as insulation. It separates the wood, and then it allows the when it's built up, it will allow the collectors to fit at the side of the Whimshurst machine.
This is just a rough trial assembly of how the collector fits to the base of the machine. The ball there rotates. That'll have a rod through which connects to another ball on the end of the rod, which allows the spark to jump between the gaps, because this will be exactly the same on the other side. The construction of this Whimshurst machine is really a long-term project, and I can only do bits and bats when I find the time, as I am really at the moment heavily committed with my narrow gauge 7¼ inch gauge steam locomotive. When I do finish the actual machine, I will post more video. I hope you found this of interest. It's not instructions how to build a Whimshurst machine, it's just the way I'm building mine. Anyway, thanks for watching.